Felix Sanko. Today I'm going to talk about program milestones and really how to build an expert program through the domains of managing autonomy, context, and complexity. A lot of competency-based medical education is based on milestones, and the milestones are based on the Dreyfus and Dreyfus model. Dreyfus brothers showed that going from competent to expert involves the use of intuitive reasoning and behaviors in the domains of autonomy, complexity, and context that a computer couldn't replicate. Now, you can have individual milestones. I suggest to you you can have program milestones that also, through the domains of autonomy, coping with complexity, and perceiving context, can make your program an expert program. The first of these domains is autonomy. I think the days of the autonomous physician are over, and I think the days of the autonomous program are over. So for me, autonomy is actually resilience. And the more resilient either a program or an organization are, the more they can become expert systems. This is an article from Reinertsen that talked about Zen and the art of physician autonomy, that physicians will actually gain autonomy if they give up some autonomy. And I think also programs will do the same thing. Resilience means different things to different people. This is based on a book by Lee Lipsenthal. And really the four parts of resilience that are important to me are values, the ability to bend, connectedness, and reflective practice. So if a program knows its own values and able to reflect those values on the environment, if the program has an ability to bend, is connected, and has a system reflective practice, from the autonomy domain, I think they'll be able to be an expert system. This is a local example of our residency. We use reflective practice a lot. We have strategic plans, we have annual plans, we have quarterly blueprint meetings, and all of this is open, transparent, and accessible to everyone. So we have a continuous strategic plan that we use to improve our program. The second domain in the Dreyfus and Dreyfus model is managing complexity. Healthcare is becoming more complex. Medical education is more complex. So a lot of the work that I'm familiar with on complexity comes from the Plexus Institute that really looks at complex adaptive systems. And I think designing a program as a complex adaptive systems will make it easier to gain expertise in that. People that look at studying complexity actually look at flocks of birds and schools of fish and see how they operate. And what they found is that there are really three simple rules in managing complexity. One is alignment. So from a flock of birds perspective, every bird flies to the average destination of every other bird. There is separation, that every bird has an equal distance from all the birds around them. And there's cohesion, that every bird flies to the mean mass of the birds. From my point of view, alignment is leadership. Leaders that are able to promote and institute a shared vision. Separation, from my point of view, is management, allowing everyone to really operate at their fullest potential or to fly and soar to the highest levels. And the third is cohesion, which is really a complete, transparent communication system so that every bird knows what every other bird is doing. So again, from a local example, we've really tried to develop a shared vision in our residency. We've tried to give everyone the ability to operate at their fullest potential, and we have a totally open, transparent communication system. If you think talking about birds is at the 30,000 foot level, I would just urge you to read this article on complexity in JAMA this summer that again looks at flocking of birds and schooling of fish. But I think if you look towards alignment, separation, and cohesion, you have an ability to develop an expert program. A lot of healthcare is contextual, and a lot of education is contextual. I think the third domain is a perception of context. From my point of view, in 2012, context is about networks, and we are people, and knowledge people. And I think developing a social network analysis of your program that's based on three things will help your program become an expert program. Those three things are: one, the advice network. Where does your program go for advice? Where do individuals in your program go for advice? The second one is a trust network. Where does your program go in a moment of crisis? And the third one is a communication network. Where does the majority of information come and go? If you develop an advice, trust, and communication network and superimpose it on your organization chart, you'll see where the gaps are and where there's places you can innovate. So the Institute of Healthcare Improvement has really looked at social network analysis, and I think people looking towards the future for both quality and education will be constructing social network analyses. So in summary, I think there's really 10 areas to consider investing some effort in developing an expert program. The four from the domain of autonomy, which is knowing one's value, having the ability to bend, connecting with others, and having a reflective practice. The dealing with the complexity is really the alignment, the separation, the cohesion, and the context, developing a trust network, an advice network, and a volume of information network. Focusing energy on those 10 areas will help you develop an expert system. Another way to look at that is if autonomy in a fraction is the numerator, complexity is the line between the numerator and the denominator, and context is the denominator, the more you can move your program from the numerator to the denominator and cross the vinculum, which is the line between the numerator and the denominator, the more you'll be able to have an expert program in a future complex environment.